Hi folks, Tony DeWitt here, Missouri appellate attorney and a guy who likes to make the law make sense on YouTube. Today we're going to talk about appeal bonds, particularly as they apply in the Depp versus Heard case. So stay tuned for just a moment. As of today's date, I have not seen an appeal bond posted for Amber Heard. Now, by the time this video goes live, that may indeed be the case, but at least as of right now, I haven't seen an appeal bond. So we're going to talk a little bit about what happens if you do post a bond and what happens if you don't. An appeal bond is not a requirement to appeal. A lot of people frame it that way, but it isn't a requirement. The thing that an appeal bond does is it stops execution on the judgment. Now, the way judgments work is if you sue ABC Appliance for a bad refrigerator in small claims court and you get a judgment against them, most of the time their insurance company or the company itself will pay. But about 25 years ago when I was in law school, I bought a refrigerator from a secondhand appliance company, and it was basically a fraud. They had wired it with a hot start kit so that it would work just long enough to get to my house. To make a long story short, I sued in small claims court. I recovered a judgment, and I demanded that they pay, and they told me that I could do whatever I wanted to get that money, but they weren't going to pay me. So there is a process in the law called execution, which allows you to go and execute on the judgment. Now, there's several ways to do that. You can serve, if you know, for example, all of the different places where someone banks, you serve interrogatories to a garnishee. The garnishee in this case is the bank. And you say, tell me all the money that ABC Appliance has in their account. And usually you'll get a response back that says, okay, in account number 13456, ABC Appliance has $150,000. So then you file a document, an execution, and you demand that they garnish that amount and pay it over. Now, the garnishee usually will cooperate. Sometimes the subject of the judgment will come in and say, it was procured by fraud or for some other reason that the judgment should be set aside. And sometimes that temporarily stops the process. But generally speaking, if you get a judgment, you can execute on it. So that's what people usually do if you get someone who is not going to pay you. In the case of Amber Heard, I suspect that she doesn't have $10 million sitting around in petty cash. And as a result of that, she probably doesn't have a way, even if she was garnished, to pay the judgment in that case. So going through the process of doing an asset search where you pay a private detective to go and find out what assets she has is probably not money well spent. Similarly, if you're Amber Heard paying a bondsman, in this case, likely over $100,000 for the appeal bond is probably not money well spent because the bonding company will put up the whatever it is, $8, $9, $10 million in judgment. What it won't do is it won't do it for free. They want 10%, and that's their fee. And if they have to pay the judgment, they want all of your assets. They're coming after, in this case, they'd come after Amber Heard. So while a judgment bond or a suspension bond in Virginia, an appeal bond or a superseadeas bond in many other places, while those are aids to execution once an appeal is finished, they're not a requirement to appeal because it would be unlawful and sort of against due process to require someone to pay the judgment before they appealed it, particularly if they believe the appeal has merit. And I'm sure that their lawyers have told them that the appeal has merit. So that's the story on appeal bonds. She will be able to appeal even if she doesn't pay the suspension bond, but Johnny Depp could come in and try executing on her bank accounts, on her properties, and all of that, particularly if that's well known and they don't need to go get an asset search done. That certainly complicates things for her during the pendency of the appeal, because it could very well take upwards of, I don't know, maybe 8 to 9 months to get that done. Sometimes as long as a year, year and a half. If there is an intermediate appellate court, it'll probably take 6 months to get decided by the intermediate appellate court. And if there is a Supreme Court above that, and it is successfully appealed to the Supreme Court, then it may take even longer. So while it's good to have your opposing party take out an appeal bond for you, if they don't, your only remedy is to go execute on their assets, and then you have to hold on to those assets. Because let's say you go out and you seize a house that that person owns, and the appeal comes back and reverses the judgment. Well, if you've sold that house, it may be impossible for that person to get it back. And real property has real value, and as a result, you could be in a world of trouble. So again, you've got a problem with executing on the assets. It's just much simpler if they take out the bond. But again, if they don't take out the bond, there really are not a whole lot of remedies for you. Now again, I'm basing this on Missouri law. It might be different in Virginia. I don't know. I haven't done the research, and frankly, I'm not that interested in the peculiarities of Virginia law to go and do that research. I just think it's important for you to understand that the way an appeal bond works. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments down below. And if you would, like, share, subscribe, do all those things that everybody asks you to do, because it does help us make content and get it out there for you. Thanks again for watching. I hope you have a marvelous day, and we'll catch you on here next time.